couple of days back, I watched this Tamil movie called Sarpatta Parambarai, a movie's plot that surrounds around boxing and people living in northern part of Chennai. And because this movie has released on Amazon Prime for more than around 2 weeks or so, I'm just going to keep this short and it's going to be a late review. And I wouldn't, this wouldn't be a very descriptive or this wouldn't give out a lot of spoilers. So if you want to go and watch, you can still watch the movie and come back and watch this, because despite not having a lot of spoilers, it's a review and I would end up spoiling a few aspects of the movie. But yeah, let's get on with it. Now, one of the main reasons why, I'm going to make a statement right now, and just don't think that it's an overstatement, but this has to be one of the best sports movies that has ever been made in our country. Among all the film industries. And this has to be one of the best Tamil sports movies for sure, because this does not have a very trite or a very cliched plot line. It surrounds around one person, for sure, the protagonist. But it does not shy away from telling us a story of people who make up the community that he lives in. And it also does not shy away from portraying all the other aspects of boxing, and does not just stick to the same old plot line of the hero winning at the end of the movie. Because in this movie, I actually thought Arya, who was playing Kabilan, who is the protagonist in the movie, might actually end up losing in the end. And even there are a couple of other fights that he takes part in, and I did think that he might actually end up losing because he's an underdog. And everything was just so realistic in this movie. Now, I'm not going to discuss the plot mainly, but there are a few characters that I would want to describe a bit, if that's okay. Now, the most striking character for me, personally, was the character named Dancing Rose, obviously, who is a boxer. Back in, the plotline is set in the 1970s and 80s, early 80s, in northern Chennai, and it's based on true story. But this boxer was based on a British boxer. His demeanor was based on a British boxer named Prince Naseem, who actually used to dance his way to the ring. And I loved how this actor who played that guy, emulated in a way that it was kind of his own, but at the same time he played he paid an homage to this real life boxer Prince Naseem, who was a lightweight champion, I guess, in my opinion. I might have to go and cross check that fact, but the way he portrayed that character and the levity that the character showed throughout while the time he was on screen, and also the fact that he had certain principles, because you can actually see when he is trying to mentor Wembuli. We'll come to that character later, but when he was trying to mentor Wembuli, who is considered to be one of the most difficult and one of the best fighters out there, and Kabilan has challenged Wembuli that he might actually end up beating him. So when he is actually mentoring him, you could see that Dancing Rose is a man of principle. And despite Wembuli losing the final fight, he does go up to Wembuli and appreciate him for the fact that he took up those blows. Like a real sports person, rather than cheating like the last time when he fought Kabilan. And there are a lot of other aspects that I could mention regarding that particular character, Dancing Rose, but I really don't want to dwell on him particular, delve deeper into that character, just because of the sheer fact that that character itself has a lot of things that I could mention. I just don't want this video to be about him. We can actually have a video which just talks about him. But the other character that comes second to Dancing Rose is Kevin, aka Daddy. It's very funny even saying this, but he is Kabilan's mentor in the movie, and also it's his place where Kabilan's mother used to work as a servant back in the day, and he himself used to be a fighter back when he was young in the northern Chennai region, and the fact that he is not just a friend or an ally to Kabilan, but also points out Kabilan's mistakes when he's wrong, is what makes him even more intriguing. He's very vivid, very colorful, just like Dancing Rose, but also has, he is morally right. And not just because he's the protagonist's friend, but also because he just is. You can actually see it in him. He wants Kabilan to succeed, that is Arya's character, to succeed in boxing, but at the same time, he also wants him to be a nice person and a nice human being. You can see when, Kabilan ends up becoming a henchman and resorts to drinking and quits boxing. That is exactly, when he derails from the path of boxing, and he ends up, getting violent and beating up his own family, like his wife and his mother. And that's when you could see Kevin or Daddy stand up for his mom and his wife, and actually ends up stopping him from doing something really stupid, stopping Arya's character from doing anything stupid. And that itself shows or talks a lot about Kevin as a character, and if there's another character that I felt was really more important to this movie or this plot, that would be Pasupathy's character, who is the coach in the movie of Sarpatta Parambarai. And he had, there's something that I loved about him, is the fact that he did not try to emulate Mickey Arthur from Rocky. And the reason why I'm even mentioning this right now, or even bringing a comparison between Rocky, is because Rocky and Raging Bull are probably the best boxing movies to have ever been made in the universe, right? And there is no way that a comparison cannot be drawn if there is another boxing movie that is to be made. There was a movie called Gladiator, which was made, not the Russell Crowe's Gladiator, not the Ridley Scott's Gladiator. There was a boxing movie called The Gladiator, which released back in the 80s or in the 90s in Hollywood, and even that was compared heavily, against Raging Bull and Rocky, and it did not actually fare that well as compared to these two movies, and that's because of the legacy that these two movies have left behind. That is Rocky and Raging Bull in particular. And I loved how this movie, not just the coach's character played by Pasupathy, but also just this movie kind of through some certain shades and paid a few tributes to Rocky and Raging Bull at times, but did not entirely parrot those two movies. It had its own identity, but at the same time it kind of paid this homage to these two movies, which actually kind of excited the viewer and wanted to watch more. And Pasupathy's character, in my opinion, was totally a sole identity. It was not a copy of anything. It was not a Xerox of anything. He was his own, and you could see that. You could see the importance of stillness while acting, and that's something that Pasupathy shows time and again in his movies. And sadly, he's a very underrated actor, and the industry and the directors and the producers do not use him that well and wisely. But I hope they do from now onwards. But this is not his only character that has actually made a mark. There are so many other movies that he has acted in. And I love the fact that they actually included him and put him as the coach in the movie. And I love how even he has certain principles and even he feels the need to prove on the ring rather than, you know, talk incessantly or unnecessarily outside the ring. And that kind of meant a lot and spoke a lot about their character. Let's talk about the protagonist right now, Kabilan, that is played by Arya. Now, this is where I have a problem. I genuinely feel that he did not do a good job when it came to acting, number one. But second off, when it came to, you know, the physique that he built and the fact that when he was on the ring and, you know, during the boxing sequences, he was amazing. It's probably one of the best boxing sequences I've ever seen. So the work that he has put in is amazing for this particular movie, but I really don't appreciate him as an actor because I just cannot see him acting. There's a movie called Non-Credible which was directed by Pala a long time back, and I haven't watched the movie, but I've heard that it's critically acclaimed and it was probably one of his best performances, one of his first or one of his few performances which has been critically acclaimed. But I just don't like him as an actor much. That's just me. And I really didn't like him even in this movie because it felt like, even though his character was naive and gullible, it just felt like he wasn't able to pull it off. It just felt like he himself was naive and gullible and did not know what the character wanted. But that is just my opinion because I've seen so many other reactions and so many other critiques who said that he did an amazing job. So maybe, I mean, if you think he did an amazing job, then definitely mention it on the comments and tell me why I'm wrong. But I did not find him that enthralling, you know. But I did feel like he did an amazing job in the boxing sequences. And if he has done an amazing job as a naive person, as an innocent person, then I'm ready to change my opinion and consider the fact that he has done an amazing job. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't feel that there was a lot of depth to this character, but I loved how he was an underdog and he rose up the ranks and actually ended up, you know, beating everyone in every single fight. And there were actually few moments when it felt like he's going to lose this game. And that is why I appreciate Ranjith as a director a lot, because it was very realistic and grounded and humble. And I think in that sense, Arya has done a beautiful job. But anyways, mention it on the comment section. And the actress, I just don't know her name, but the actress who you know, in fact, two actresses, his mother, the person who plays his mother and the person who plays his wife, both of them have done a wonderful job. In fact, all the women, it's a shame that I don't know the name, but all the women, even despite having a limited role, have done an amazing job. Especially the person, the girl who plays his wife, Arya's wife in the movie. She has done an amazing job, and I love their relationship throughout the movie. I love how they depicted how people from the lower cadres, from the people living in slums behave, but at the same time, I loved how there was a feministic approach to this, and at the same time, she was the dominating character every time she was on the screen. And it was not just about him, and it was not just, she had her whole, you know, identity to herself and not just a supporting role. It's sad that they did not use her much in the movie, probably because she's a debutante, but I hope to see her in more such movies because she was gorgeous and she was amazing as an actress. There were a lot of other women in the movie. I just wouldn't be able to include them. It's because they did not have enough role, including his mom, who was amazing. But I really wish to see these people in more such movies because they excite me and they were so good when it came to acting and their on-screen performances. And there were a few other characters like Raman and the coach's son, you know, played by Kalai Arasan. These guys kind of did the job for me too, because they weren't, I wouldn't say they underplayed the role, but they were really good as actors too, because there was the main reason why I love this movie is because it did not downplay anything. It didn't shy away from anything. It showed how people in northern Chennai live, how people from the lower caste population, you know, behave, a certain way. And I love how they also mentioned Kevin's character, who is an Anglo-Indian, and he majorly speaks in English. And I love how accurate that was, and it wasn't just a caricature of what an Anglo-Indian would be, because it was a very responsible a portrayal of an Anglo-Indian. And I love that Paranjit included that character. And the fact that not a single character kind of downplayed, and the fact that every single character had its own significance in the movie is what made me love this movie a lot. I felt that the direction could have been way better in terms of the storytelling in a few aspects, just in a few aspects. But I did love this movie as a whole. Even the person who played, the fisherman who ends up coaching Arya for his last fight. Even that guy showed a lot of passion while he was on screen. So I love that character because he was very intriguing. I would love to see a whole other spin-off series which would consist of Dancing Rose, this fisherman character, and the coach, just so we could see the backdrop of this whole culture and why all of this took birth in the first place. If there is anything else that I would like to mention in this movie, is that there were a few flaws, but I think I could ignore them because it's on an OTT platform. Especially, I felt like they dragged it for almost 25 minutes or something like that at the end, and there were a few fighting scenes in the end which was unnecessary. That is before the boxing, that is outside the ring. And I felt like the final fight could have been a bit better, but it was amazing at the end of the day. And there were a few scenes which kind of paid tribute to the Joe Frazier or the George Foreman versus Ali fight. So that is something that I liked, and it was a bit believable too. Apart from that, the backdrop of the culture and the authenticity of Northern Chennai and the 1970s and 80s is what got me to watch this movie, and it got me hooked onto it. The story was amazing. It was not just a boxing movie, but at the same time it was about boxing mainly, and it had a very good plotline, very good screenplay, and the way everything was portrayed, the symbolism. There were times when they showed Buddha, and there were times when they showed Ambedkar, when there were times when they showed the color blue, which kind of represents the lower caste system in India and in Tamil Nadu. But at the same time, it was not just about caste in this movie, and that is what I loved, because as much as I love movies talking about political stuff and the issues that needs to be addressed, and as much as I love movies which are political movies, or movies which in general talk about stuff that needs to be talked about, all the social evils and stuff like that, I want movies to kind of divert from that and talk about just focus on the entertainment aspect. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like lately movies have been talking a lot about the caste system and stuff, that Tamil movies in general, and people from Northern Chennai and all of that, and I really appreciate it, because in the past maybe we did not have enough movies talking about them. Really appreciate that the directors have come forward and shown courage in showing their lives. But the fact that today we are this movie actually spoke about it, and at the same time focused on the plot and boxing, is what got me hooked onto this movie. And I love how this is actually based on real life stories, and there were similar boxes back in the day, and it's been banned now obviously because it might cause a lot of ruckus and havoc in the society. But back in the day, it was a form of entertainment for these people, and the accuracy is what actually got me watching this. Now, there were a few characters, maybe Vembuli, that I could have mentioned, but the only reason I did not mention is because I wanted to go and watch the movie. But every character's name had a meaning behind it. Every particular move in the movie had a significance to it. That's all I want you to know. So go and watch. tune into Amazon Prime. Get a subscription if you don't have. And definitely go and watch this movie because it's totally worth it. Especially the final training scene, which did pay homage to Rocky and Raging Bull montages, training montages. But I loved how it was on the beach and it's beautiful. There were certain beautiful shots from them, and I loved it from that particular scene. And even the songs, soundtrack by Santosh Nair, it just felt like a Hollywood movie, man. I'm not even exaggerating. When it came to the soundtrack, especially. So if I would want to rate this movie, it would be a solid 8.5. I don't do a 8.7, so it would be 8.5 out of 10. I would have given this 9 or 9.2 easily, but it was because of those particular flaws that I felt that could have been omitted easily. And it felt like it was a bit too long. Because otherwise, even if those scenes were omitted, it would have still been more than 2 hours, 15 minutes. So yeah, that is something that maybe even more than that, but that is something that I feel that could have been omitted easily. But apart from that, I really like this movie. I love this movie, in fact. And I felt, and I did not watch Tufan yet, and I don't even want to watch it, but people said that, this movie kind of, just destroyed Tufan, which is a Hindi boxing movie that just released a week back. So it's inevitable for the critics to compare these two movies. So yeah, it's a really proud moment that Tamil movies are doing really well. Sad that it did not release in the theaters because of the unprecedented scenario right now. But let's hope things get better. Stay safe. Do mention in the comment section what do you want to watch, what do you want to watch the next time, and we'll be more consistent for sure this time because we got a bit busy and it was a much needed hiatus that I took. I did this on purpose, but we'll be a bit more consistent this time. Thank you for letting us do this. Thanks for the support. And have an amazing day and stay tuned or just wait for the next video. Bye bye.